Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the WoodsTalk podcast. We video podcast today. It's a Sunday morning, and my guest is Dave Elliott, the lovely Dave Elliott, host of the Sly Guy podcast, one half of the Boytown podcast, writer, actor, performer, stand-up comedian, an all-round good guy. He's ready to come into the waiting room. So let's get him on and see how the bastard is. You know, because I don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to fall asleep because I'll miss you, baby, and I don't want to miss a thing. So, up the ra. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah.
There he is.
How's it going, mate? How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Welcome to WoodsTalk. Thank you very much for
I'm glad to be here. I mean, I'm going to say I was having a bit of a nightmare with my hair, but now that I see it in camera, never looked better.
Here, it looks like you've just been the Skinny Isaacs for a wee cut.
Yeah, but I'm just more like a fat Joe at the minute. It's not a sweet look. I'm just not good all over. But hey, it's good to be here on the WoodsTalk podcast. You're looking pretty fresh yourself. Your hair is flaccid. It's more turgid and coiffed when I see you.
Yeah, it's getting a lot of attention. My hair between putting that video on Insta yesterday, and then I was doing a Zoom with some of Lisa's family last night. So most of them were quite complimentary that they say I look younger, but then some of them said I look like I should be making suits for The Incredibles. So I don't know.
Nice. Well, I mean, it's definitely a good look. I mean, have you had facial surgery too, or is it just the hair, or what have you been up to?
I think it's the benefits of Couch to 5K. I think I've lost about 2 stone off the jaw, to be honest, man.
Nice. No, it's good. And you're really in that at the minute, aren't you?
I'm enjoying it, yeah. I had a bit too much to drink last night because I was celebrating finishing week 5. So there's not a hang today, but there's a haze. Do you know what the haze is? No one just not quite a hangover, but enough to ruin your day.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I love that you've gone on a pint to celebrate a fitness achievement. That's just great. Yeah. Yes, we've done it. Fucking let's hammer the booze. That's the proper response to it.
Well, basically what I did was I didn't plan to go too mental, but I went to Tesco and got the 3 for $5 pint bottle deal. So I got a pint bottle of Tsingtao and
very nice.
Staro Pramen and fucking Birra Moretti. And then I ran out and we were doing that Zoom call with Lisa's family last night because we were supposed to have a wedding yesterday. One of Lisa's bridesmaids was supposed to get married yesterday, but obviously it's been rescheduled because of this coronavirus. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah.
So we did a drunken Zoom. So I did a delivery order for 12 bottles of Heineken. Oh, wow.
That's nice. And did you drink them all?
I drank 8 of them.
That's so good. You know, it's fair play to just have a haze after 8 bottles of Heineken. I think I'd be fit for the grave after 8 bottles of Heineken. But I myself, not to boast, had 2 bottles of cider last night. So you're dealing with a player here.
Yeah, just a swag guy, swaggy Thatcher.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are getting into their craft beers, and I mean, you know, other than the craft beer that sponsors my podcast. Other than that, I'm not a wild craft beer fan. Like, to me, I mean, this is an uneducated palate you're talking to. They all kind of taste a wee bit like, I just think, normal beer with a shot of vodka in it. And,
yeah,
you know,
I would tend to agree. Like, I do like them, but there's definitely a sneaky aspect to it. Like, even in terms of general beer, like I remember once, do you know Wine Flare on the Lisburn Road?
Mm-hmm.
I was in there and they were doing this, they say a deal, but basically they had a blue bag that was sellotaped closed, and they were like, we've got some out of date Carlin, you can get 12 tins for £3. So I was like, giz. And then I had the out of date Carlin, and no joke, it tasted 100% like Stella. And I'm like, oh, you sneaky bastard. So Stella is just basically out of date Carlin, and they're saying nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, for £3 you take it. Say no more.
I drink my own bag for fucking £3.
Is that the Wine Flare on the corner just along from Tesco's in Lisburn Road? Am I right in thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have a good story about that. I used to live across the road from there, so it would have been my local off license. Mm-hmm. I remember I went in one day and there was a guy. I mean, you just say he's a character. You know, he was a bit of a he's one of these guys that he could have been 80 or he could have been 20. You know, he's in a rough paper round, but he actually went into there and he was looking. I think he was looking like some sort of cheap but pungent whiskey. So something like Mackenzie's Scottish whiskey or something, and they didn't have it, and he started losing a rag, and he was threatening that he was going to shoot up, like just take heroin, not actually shoot the place up. He was like, I'm going to fucking get my needle out here, and I just went, I'm just going to leave maybe and go to Tesco's and get my 2 bottles of cider for the day. But it was an experience. And also, I mean, I don't know what the benefit to the story is about this, but just for context and help people imagine this guy, he wasn't given the full complement of ears. So I don't know whether that was how he was brought into the earth, or whether or not somebody just went, "Give us that ear," because he only had the one. So
he's like the Vincent Van Gogh of junkies. Do you think, where he just like hacked off a bit of the ear?
I Vincent Van Gogh, fuck yourself. But he was not in a good way.
I love the description of that whiskey as being cheap and pungent, which I actually think is the name of Kieran Bartlett's autobiography.
Yeah. And his scent that he's bringing out.
This is a new line of fragrances from the squad. If each of the squad members had a fragrance, what do you reckon they'd be called?
You would have something you'd have a good pun involved in yours.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what existing ones. Fahrenheit. That would be what you would have. Mickey would have something, that he would try it, because he would try and have it very sexy, but obviously it wouldn't be. So he would go for something, but then you'd be like, oh, what's this? This is like, we'll say Sauvignon, because it's a type of a wine in it, or a grape.
Yeah.
So you would have that, and then you smell it and go, fuck, he's stinking. I think Collins would be called just unbelievable, because it's his favourite word.
He loves that word.
Yeah, Shane's would be called fingers, because he's got very long fingers.
He does have long fingers up there.
Like very weird, and he would use them, in the wee like teeth pipette things. Just like that's how he would put it on, like.
Take my strong hand.
I mean, mine would be called Essence of Meat. So just I was slight hue of beef about it, and McCann's would probably just be called
Turf.
Tyler the Masturbator. That's what it is.
How do you reckon? Do you know the story of how Tyler, the creator, who is obviously, a rapper, and McCann is massively into him? How did Tyler the Creator get his name? Because I know you kind of do listen to some of those tunes. I have no idea, but it's still a weird name to me. Yeah,
because I couldn't entirely just make this up if you wish. I think what had actually happened was that he was very much into initially plasticine as a young boy, and he would have created all these different wee worlds, again, because he was from a working class family in the day. He didn't have a lot of money about them, so they couldn't just go out and get the best high spec Warhammer. So he had to create his own Warhammer out of plasticine, and then he would go to Warhammer events and stuff, and they would be like, this Warhammer's fucking class, I've never seen this before, and then they found out he made it, and then some wee Warhammer geek was like, I guess I could call you Tyler the Creator then, and he was like, whoa. So I think that's where it originated from. Again, if you're doing an exam or a thesis on Tyler the Creator, don't come in hard with that as an introduction, because you will get fucked.
Yeah. Have you been drinking much during this whole lockdown? Because I was going to ask all the squad who do this about a theory I have in terms of, obviously you've been blocked in a pub or a nightclub or whatever. What do you feel are the differences between being blocked in a bar or nightclub to being house blocked? I think house blocked is a different type of blocked.
Yeah, I think whenever you're on it in the house, there's no limit to it, whereas whenever you're in the pub, you're told you got to go home, and that's the end of it, whereas in the house, you could just you could go for having a couple of pints to being blocked. You could, a full-time alcoholic, so what I'm saying, you could end up finding yourself in 3 weeks' time in the wine flare in Lisburn Road, threatening to shoot up heroin with one ear. That's how it could escalate. So
I feel that's definitely house drinks hit you harder for sure. So house block is definitely a worse blocked for me.
I think for this particular lockdown experience, I feel like I've been more like an older man style drinking, in that I'll have a beer or two every evening near enough, rather than just a big session. I don't think I haven't been. I think again, it's because of Catherine, my wife. She's a selfish bitch and is pregnant, so she can't drink. So it would be kind of a wee bit irresponsible of me to just be getting absolutely lit in the gaff by myself. So, I think that's I do find I enjoy a barbecue. So I would go out into the garden light
Yeah.
up the barbecue, have a few beers, and a bit of time to myself, which is lovely. And that's when I drink the most. But because she's pregnant, it's just probably difficult to explain. Like, who you drink with tonight? Oh, just me. What did you have? Oh, two bottles of Malbec and 7 beers. Like, oh, well, a bit of a concern there for the big man. You know?
I love how you've turned into the stereotypical like husband and father to be, where you're like, oh, you never say that Catherine's pregnant; it's she's pregnant. You never say
her indoors. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's right. I'm married. Tell you what.
I know. Have you been doing much writing actually? Any stand-up ideas or anything?
Not overly. No, I'm sort of using the lockdown as a welcome break from that. I'm trying to do more online stuff. Hence my wee video yesterday.
Yeah, I kind of have done nothing, to be honest, in terms of stand-up writing, but I had a couple of ideas and a few wee things, and I thought, oh, I need to write that. And the only reason I'm saying that now is because I was talking to somebody, one of my friends, were like basically boasting about all the shagging they're doing in lockdown, being like, oh, this is great, isn't it? And I was kind of like, no, you know, I'm not at all. If anything, it's worse. I'm married to a pregnant person, you know, so it's not really as mad as you think. And then I was like, you know, in and around Christmas time, that's whenever the baby was conceived. I was like, this is great. I'm living the dream. And I sort of realized in many respects, I was like Santa, you know, in and around Christmas. No one emptied more bags than me, but you know, but again, I have to wait another 12 months until it happens again. So yeah, I'm kind of settled into it. But it's weird because I think the whole, you know, that like, let's put the cards on the table. I'm a hefty unit. You know, if I was in, say, the missionary position, I would be afraid I would pop the baby like a zit. So that gives me a fear. You know, like some lads would be like, oh, I'd probably batter the baby's head. Well, I definitely wouldn't. You know, I wouldn't even, the baby wouldn't be it would be like, why is the light blocked? That'd be about it. But there wouldn't be sort of trying to duck it.
It's like solar eclipse or something.
Yeah. What's going on here? It's fucking weird. But yeah, so I've not been getting into that like a lot of lockdown people have. But I mean, each to their own. You know, if that's. I mean, I'll not ask you, it's a very personal question, but I know a lot of people are big into it. And then also I feel the biggest worry for a lot of people will be when this is lifted and like those people who haven't been able to see their girlfriends or whatever, or even get on Tinder dates. Yeah. There's going to be a different kind of pandemic. You know, it's going to be an outbreak of fucking E. coli and salmonella, the amount of asses being eaten. Doctors will be like, I've never seen an outbreak like this. Stay indoors and baby wipe your ring, would you? Fuck's sake.
You just take a fucking Brillo pad to your hole. I'm trying to think too, obviously, if the conception of the baby to be was at Christmas, is it like, you know, if like Wham! Last Christmas comes on the radio, you're kind of looking at Catherine going,
yeah, no.
Any Christmas like,
and then whenever the child's born, called George Michael.
George Michael Elliot, that's class.
Yeah. I mean, I have a feeling it's a girl. To be fair, this time around, I think that I'm just kind of a girl maker. You know, it seems to be my thing. Like, it's a girl maker.
You just obviously you don't know the gender of the wing. Have you had the opportunity to find out? Are you at that stage?
Well, we're past that stage. We could have had the scan last week, which could have found out. But Catherine might know because I'm not allowed to go because it's coronavirus. So I'm just stuck in the gap.
Oh yeah.
She says she hasn't. So
yeah. Well, I suppose
I take her at her word.
Yeah, I suppose it's probably worth asking considering like I'm doing like a lot of these video podcasts with peeps. So. Yourself and then Aaron Butler has done one, McCann's done one, and I've got a few people in the pipeline in the next few days. But I suppose yourself and Colin are the only two that have kids. So, like, as a dad and then a dad to be, how does COVID really affect that? More so for the baby to be, because obviously is Catherine doing all these scans, and has there been any advice? Because obviously she was somewhat high risk, would she be, because she's pregnant?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, because she's a nurse as well, she's still working. And it's bizarre because like the NHS are just fucking beasts. That's the thing. Like everyone, like I know we're doing the clapping and all this, but I didn't really realize the extent of how like they just are selfless basically. And they're like, pregnant people in the normal world, you either like stay awake, self-isolate. But if you're a nurse or a doctor, he's like, nah, fuck it, you going to come to work until 28 weeks. Yeah. So in the beginning, I was a bit like, I don't know about that. But now she's like, this kind of like wartime attitude. She's like, no, I have to go in. It's my duty. This is what I have to do. And I'm sort of like, all right, well, just you stay away from me in a different wing of the house, and I'll keep myself over here. But she's got another few weeks to go before it's 28 weeks, like, and so far so good. Like, we don't think there's any sign of infections or anything. But I asked her, because again, you see out in the world, or like, seen social media last night, I was so raging. I recorded my own podcast in a blind rage with 2 ciders in me. So I mean, there was some truth bombs coming out there, but it was just seeing people on social media, like with friends and drinking and all. And you're like, why are you touching people? You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not over, and I will be angry if there will inevitably be a second wave of this, because there's so many fucking idiots in this country.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
And if I don't get in to see that baby being born, I'm going to be swinging digs like left, right, and centre. I don't care who I'm hitting. Just if you're within my 2 metre radius, you're getting knocked out.
So as it stands, the way it is, hypothetically, if Catherine goes into labour, say she was going into labour tomorrow, you can't be there at all?
I don't think so, no. I think that they try to just keep you away, or else you're allowed to be there directly after, but I don't think during the birth.
So she's just going to go... Could she just go live on Instagram and you can check it?
Yeah, well, I mean, she could do that. The only good thing is, though, if you're not actually there for the birth, you're allowed to disown the child. So if I'm not there, it gives me an opportunity to say, listen, keep it. You know, and then I'll be grand. But I have, to be fair, found it quite tough, because she's working. I'm here in the house all the time, Holly, basically, and it's just, there's no escape from her. Like, even if I was allowed to have my grandpa or like my parents to look after it, life would be sweet. But you know, it's a bit of a struggle. But again, there are plenty of people going through it. And again, if these fucking stupid kids stop going out for a couple of Bacardi breezers already and just wait, that I'll maybe be allowed to get my child babysat and people fucking tug a pills to myself in peace.
Yeah, I want to have a wank in the shower, a schwank.
Yeah.
You know? But here's
just to finish that, it's been so long. If that happens, I'll collapse again in the shower. That's happened to me once in my life. I'd been so long, did it, and my knees just went from under me. And then my dad was like, "You all right in there?" And I was like, "Oh, please don't come in, please don't come in. If you come in here, it's going to be a lot of explaining to do." But
I need to wipe the stomach.
No, at that point it was the full face, eyes, and hair. It looked like it just poured conditioner all over the whole body.
It's original source. It actually is. Port local. Tell me this. So, like, obviously, this whole pandemic, particularly here in Northern Ireland, you know, it's provoked a response from everyone's parents, particularly everyone's dads. Now, it seems dads either go, take it very seriously. Obviously, my dad kind of took it serious because he's sort of high risk, but at the same time, he's like, well, it won't affect me because it only affects people who are 70 and over, and I'm 69, so I'm sweet. But you either get like the dads that do take it seriously and social distancing, blah, 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 or just do the Northern Irish response. We're like, fuck, it's a load of bollocks. I'll just have cod liver oil and I'll be sweet. What is your dad?
What's my dad,
stance on it?
My dad, my parents are like flipping, they're terrified of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're just like, they're not wanting to go in here or anything at all. My dad, like, he would be fond of a pint, let's say, so he's definitely missing the public. But you know, they are very, very cautious. Like, my mum, I think, is almost mental about it. Like, my sister, she lives in London, but was home visiting at the start of all this before it all kind of kicked off, and has been forced to kind of stay. So she's been furloughed from work, and she's now living in my parents' basically the basement almost. And she's saying, you know, this needs lifted so I can get out of here.
Yeah.
Head's turned. She said, like, she went up one day and my mum got a shop delivered from Tesco's, and she had come in and it was just floating in a basin full of bleach water. And my sister was like, what the fuck are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm decontaminating. And it's just like, you do know you've got bananas in there, like, fucking ruin it, absorb all this bleach and just be fucking disgusting.
Yeah. I suppose, like, is your house the same at the minute? Obviously, with Catherine being pregnant and working as a nurse, that is are you and her sort of flat out like just bleaching everything? Because even Lisa's kind of mad about bleaching my shoes when I come back from her run. And even all the shopping I get, if I do a big shop for us, she's got like a J cloth and disinfectant. She's wiping down, you know, a pack of chicken Kievs. Yeah,
I mean, I think to be totally honest, we are a bit less so than in the beginning. I think that's something, like, I know a lot of people, I think they're starting to call it lockdown fatigue. Like a lot of people are getting fed up about it, and kind of like almost the guards down a wee bit on things. Like see people partying, drinking, like that fucking kill them for that. But so even with me, like I do find I've always been a bit of a hand washer anyway. I like a clean mitt, so I'd always been like that. But like at the beginning of this, I had to buy special hand cream and all because I was washing my hands so much they were falling apart. Whereas I sort of think I've probably slacked a little on that. And in terms of shopping, I just go out like something out of flipping 28 days later once every week to do the big shop. And I'm kind of the one that's out there for it. So we are trying to do what we can, but like obviously this morning with the way things are moved a bit, Catherine's going to go and stand in her mum's driveway, talk to her with Holly, so I can do this podcast, because I mean that's more important than anything. Is
it absolutely
the podcast done. So so they're doing that and they're keeping the distance and everything, which again I think is being hard on the grandparents, because they obviously just want to give Holly a big hug, but they can't. And I can't wait for that to change, so I can just be like, right, you can have her for a day, give my head a rest, So that I think that's the hard thing. But I do think everybody has kind of probably slacked a bit now than they did at the start. Like I bet there's people washing their hands less and covering their mouths with their elbows less, all that sort of shit, touching their face. Like, I mean, I've never touched my face more. I'm just,
it's just because you've been told not to, which means you're going to do it for sure. Yeah,
so I just think that hopefully in another couple of weeks things will soften again. But I just worry that whenever it all does, people will just go back to fucking stupidity again. There's, like you've seen some of the videos on social media, people, you just go, what are you doing? Like, and down at my own beach at Ballyholme, at the bottom of the King's Mountain, there's people down, 200 kids on the beach.
It's just so stupid. It couldn't be a worse time to have good weather. I think the good weather is really, because it is such a rarity that people are like, fuck the virus, I'm having people around, even though like you still can somewhat social distance and have gatherings, if you are, because I know last night we did like a Zoom thing, as I say, for Leanne and James, who were supposed to get married yesterday. Leanne was one of Lisa's bridesmaids. But it was also like, so everybody called up, but everybody drove up, and there was like everybody got drink and they had a barbecue and stuff. But all that was social distance, like, and that was regimented. But as you say, some of the stuff that you see in social media and you get forwarded on WhatsApp, and you're just like, even from like, was there one video we got from Paddy McDonnell, and it was at the Royal Bar.
One of the many,
yeah. So we can't even legally talk about that because we'll get fucking sectioned. But he sent us a video of the Royal Bar. Is that what it's called, the Royal? And it was
Sandy Row.
It was packed to the bag.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think there are certain areas where people, like you say, are just maybe hardened to other things. They're like, fuck, like if the troubles didn't take me, the fucking virus won't. And you're like, that's not how it works, Mick. There's a chance that you will fully die because of it. But I think it's the understanding that people have, maybe, that they don't think if they've no symptoms that they don't get the whole spreading of it, and the contagiousness of it. And like, I mean, and like I said, I was speaking to Aaron Butler last night, and I said that, a lot of those kids who were on the beach, I was like, I would like to go in the full gear to one of their grandparents' funerals and just go, that's your fault. In the full hazmat suit, like something like I'm coming to get ET. Be like, listen, that's because you had to go down and have Goldschlager out of a fucking plastic cup bag and beach my beach. That's your problem.
I tell you, Goldschlager was obviously, it's such a somewhat niche drink, but it seemed to be very popular because it was in a plastic bottle most of the time in off licenses. I don't know if it was the same around your way. It was very popular at festivals because you could bring it in.
Yeah, I think maybe in your day or your neck of the woods, people were maybe a bit more violent with glass. Because in my parts, it was a glass bottle, but it must have been like, nah, these people.
It was plastic around Norway. I remember I bought like 6 like small bottles of it when I went to Oxygen one year, and it's still one.
Probably was in need of oxygen after that.
It is, like I to say I bulked would be an understatement. You are sweaty, but you're a sweaty guy.
I've been in that garden, you know what I mean? I'm all about it. But no, Goldschlager was, do you ever, like, the rumours were, like, whenever you were a younger person, like, obviously underage is what I mean, not just a younger person, like 28, whenever you were, like, underage drinking, you heard all the wee rumours. Like, there was a rumour about why the Buckfast bottles had numbers on it.
Yeah.
and it was where it came out of the barrel, that shite. And then the same with Goldschlager was, it's real bits of razor blade gold. It cuts your throat and the alcohol gets in quicker. And you go, that's horrific. That's horrific. You know,
Yeah, that's right.
So it does, just blades your trachea and then just gets you blitzed. Fucking hell.
I think that's probably the worst boking experience I've had on drink, because it was at Oxygen. It was the first night, and I was drinking from the bottle, as our mate Tiny Tempo would say.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, because I hadn't ate, and I think I was just in bad nick from like a full day of drinking, not eating enough, and then being in a tent all night where it's sweaty as fuck. I woke up and then I was boking outside the tent, but I also got a nosebleed at the same time, and Lisa thought I was dying. You know what I mean? I was just like, blah, 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 and she was just going, "What the fuck is going on?" I was like, "Saw" or some shit.
Yeah, and did it put you off Goldschlager, or were you back on the?
I've never had it since Goldschlager, and any sort of rum. I just had one bad experience, and that was enough. Is there any drink that you've had where you're like, one bad experience, I've never touched it since?
Well, I'm not big on Sambuca for that reason, but the worst I ever was actually on a very cheap whiskey back in the day. Was my first kind of real heavy session, and that sort of has put me off whiskey. Now I'm older, I do like a good whiskey, but it would be more of a brandy man, you know. Like you say that in the mirror 3 times, and I come up with a bottle of Courvoisier. But it definitely put me off whiskey, because I know a lot of my mates and stuff would be big whiskey drinkers, and then be sort of going, would you have one? And I'm almost like, nah, don't do it. So I have a nice wee Arbor whiskey here, which is a bit dear. So I mean, I would go for that, but anything under like 40 quid, I wouldn't trust myself with, you know.
Yeah. When did you start drinking? What age were you?
Well, I'll tell you what. So like Sir Alex Ferguson there. I'll tell you what. I remember the first day I ever was drunk was, and you can look up the dates because I don't know for sure, but it was the day Sol Campbell signed for Arsenal. That was the day, because I was down in my mate's house, and it was like during the summer holidays, and I must have been maybe 14 or 15, and his parents were away, so I thought I was a big lad, and I was just beating like Gordon's gin into me for the crack, you know, just like with no mixer, just tasting like perfume, you know. And I got quite drunk off of that, and that was the first time I've ever been drunk. But then I think it must have been when I was 16 or 17. I had split a 10 glass of this cheap whiskey with my mate Macca, and I remember standing in his bathroom holding the pull cord for thing and just falling completely, and I pulled the pull cord out of the wall and I kept my teeth off the ground and all. It was bad, and my dad had to be called to come and get me. And then, as you do, I tried to deny drinking. I was like, I don't even, and he goes, you stink of fucking booze. And then when I got home, my aunt was staying and she had a wee baby at the time, and I was trying to like prove I was sober by getting the baby up and nursing it. You know, I was like, I'll prove it, I'll show you. And they were like, don't fucking do that. I like, just give me the fucking shit, will you? Nah. They're like, why are you speaking like that? I want to show you. Like,
it's something weird about the fact that people will never admit when they are drunk or when they're hungover, the drink was involved. Where like there was times I slept in for a Centra shift. I was supposed to be in at 5 and didn't come in about 9, and I didn't have time for a shower or anything. It was 4 hours late, so I had to basically bounce in. And then, like, I had to say, I had food poisoning, but I was stinking of booze. Like, I mean, it's so blatant, particularly like as you, in your case, you were drinking like whiskey, and you can't really hide it.
No, I've had a couple of times. So from my like sort of school days when I was working part time, where I've had pretty bad experience. I was working in. I was trying to think of the worst one first. Yeah, there was one. I worked in a gym in East Belfast, and when I first went in there, I started off. I wanted to get my gym like trainer qualification and stuff. So I started off working in the cafe, just get my foot in the door, and I remember I went. There was one day, my mates were like, "Just get blitzed," and I went dead on. So I went out, got hammered, and phoned in the next morning. This would say I can't go. And I was like, oh, I'm stuck, and I couldn't think of a place. So the only place I could say that was stuck was Kuala Lumpur. That was the first place that came into my head. I was like, oh, I'm stuck in Kuala Lumpur here. And then when I hung up, I was like, how have I got there? Literally from a finished the shift at 6 last night. And they're obviously going, this guy's a fucking moron. So I was stuck in Kuala Lumpur. Then another time I worked in that place, I went in, and the smell of like just like the stale coffee just made me boke. So I just boked all in, the wee bit where like the coffee, like the wee square with the grid on it, with the excess coffee drips into, and you have to go and empty it. I was like, and I was booked in that. It was so gross, and I get sent home for that. And then I was working in B&Q one time and went in very, like, probably still drunk, and my manager said you can't be facing customers, so she sent me into an office to answer phone calls from a 4-hour shift, like if there was any. And me being me, I was like, I'm not in the mood for this. So I just got under the desk and unplugged the phones. So I just sat there on the computer playing this wee game on BBC Sport, Kicking Kings, which is like a wee rugby kicking game, just for 4 hours. Had a break in the middle of it, went in at like 7 Yorkie bars and 2 tins of Coke, and then came back and then went home. It was great.
Yeah, I think like that shift I did, say it was 4 hours late, and I'd said food poisoning, and I didn't get away with it, basically. And similar to you, my manager was like, yeah, you can't really be on the tills today because you just can't be around people.
Yeah.
So we're defrosting one of the freezers at the back if you want to give it a clean. So it was another freezer with like magnums and all that shit, so it was completely empty. And you would think like it was just unplugged, so it was still ice cold, which could be quite a pleasant thing when you're hungover. Yeah. And that's what I thought. And I was like, no worries, I'll give that a scrub. But between like ice cold and then just like having like a sponge and bleach, I just boked all over the freezer, like. And you can't even like when you're boking, you're just like, oh Jesus, like, and you could leave it for a bit and yourself and clean it up, but you can't really do that in a freezer because it was just still unplugged, so it could have froze, and that's my frozen boke.
Yeah, you could have. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. You could have died actually if you had fallen in there.
For sure.
I'm thinking of a bad book experience too. Was when I was trying to pretend not to be hungover, and I was still living at home, and I had a big session. I got up and was having breakfast with my family, and I just felt the inevitable book coming, and I had no time to like be sick into like a sink or anything. It was just in there. So what I did was I lifted my t-shirt like this, and formed like a wee thing, and just poked in the t-shirt. So it was just basically all the book water was coming through like the sieve, and I just had chunks just drained in the t-shirt. It was fucking disgusting. But I think as I've got older, I haven't really been like, after your wedding. To be fair, I deserved to be very sick, but for some reason, this is a weird thing. I sometimes feel like I get rewarded by a higher power for being great banter. If I go out and I'm having a shit time and I'm like, it's a shite, and I drink maybe 3 or 4 beers, they'll give me a fucking horrendous hangover. Whereas if at your wedding I have like 7 bottles of champagne, 16 pints, and I've got any god's amount of shots, next day, grand, just a wee bit tired, went to bed a wee bit earlier, and that was it. But it was a great time.
Yeah, I was speaking, funny enough, I did a video podcast with Aaron yesterday. I was saying that one of the best things he could have done, and because he was saying that he's still got my wedding present, but he hasn't given it to me yet. And I was like, look, the fact that you saved on your Instagram the little bit of the bubbly debacle is one of the best things that you could have done, because like that is easily worth a rewatch, because I'd love to know between all of these, like I'd love to know how much you spent, because you were doing doing, Aaron says you were doing rounds of the bubbly
of shot, and like they were about what, like 20 quid, 30 quid a bottle, and I definitely bought about 4 bottles, and that was just doing my rounds. So I mean, if we're talking about like 4 bottles each between about what, 8 or 10 of us, fucking it's a bit of a jaunt, It was a great time. And again, I think now the older you get, you almost save like those. Like it's like Per Mertesacker in the last match he had in his career. He'd been shite for like 4 seasons, and he just delivers a masterclass against Chelsea to win the FA Cup. That's kind of how I feel. Like you'll go to like big events and you'll be like, right, I'm bringing my A game here, and you can still hang with the best of them, albeit you are hanging for normally about 2 weeks after, but it's worth it, for the time. But that was a wild night.
I always wanted to say that something I've learned the last couple of years, and I feel you should obviously, if you haven't already, teach this to Holly and TBC, baby-wise. And I'll say the same to Shane when he becomes a dad, but you need to explain from a young age that hangovers will get worse as you get older. You know what I mean? No one seems to, like, we were never told that.
No.
And I feel like it's gone unnoticed. And now, like, when I copped on, I was just like, how the fuck did nobody tell me this? Because you feel invincible for years. When you first start drinking, you still have hangovers, but you can get back on it pretty quick. Whereas now, like, it's a 3-day thing when you have a bit of a hangover now.
Like, I remember whenever we went on like our first big holiday like me and all my mates at the end of school, when we were all 18, we went to Magaluf. This is what's mental. For 2 weeks, not 1 week's not sufficient, 2 weeks, and every single night before we went out, we'd have bought a 10 glass each and drank it in the balcony before we went out. You know what I mean? And played Kings every night for 2 weeks.
Oh.
And like I would be dead by the third night now. Like I could probably try and push through, but like stag do's and stuff, I can't do more than 2 days or I'm fucked. Like, and 2 weeks of that, I don't know. Maybe that's in some way had an effect on my body, whereby it's gone right 30's the age where you can't deal with any more than 2 nights in a row drinking
done
because you drank for 2 weeks when you were 18. And it was like, you know, like cheap fucking Balearic Island spirit. So it could have been anything, you know, it could have just been paint stripper and I was just getting into me, having a great time.
I think like when you look back, when you first start drinking, because you're trying to find your feet in terms of what you like. But like I used to, my carry out would be, you know, before hitting the bar, would have been something like 8 bottles of Budweiser and 2 pint bottles of Magners. And I don't think either of those things now, but if I did, that'd be me away. I'd have to write a will.
Yeah, I remember the same. What would have been like back in the day whenever I was living off Lisburn Road with like, it was me and 3 of my mates, and we would have kind of every Saturday night gone out. We would have been working, so it would have been, I probably like early, like 23, 24, and every Saturday night, like all our mates would just come around our house because I think we were the only ones that had a house really at that time. So everyone would just come around our house. We'd have watched X Factor, got a carry out in, and then just gone out. It was great. So every time I would have had 6 bottles of Coors Light and a bottle of Buckfast would have been my pre-game booze. And some of the times in that house were great. I remember there was one time we had, you know, not Guitar Hero, it's Rock Band, when it was also everyone. So there's 4 of us in the house.
Oh yeah.
So someone was guitar, someone was drums, someone was bass, and someone was lead singer. And we had all the gear. And for some reason, there was the 3 of us, because my fourth housemate Levi, he was away working somewhere. So by the time he came home, it was just me and my other 2 housemates. And for I don't know why, all of us were naked. We just thought we were blocked. We were naked. I think we're trying to pretend we were the Red Hot Chili Peppers or something, and just our dicks weren't big enough to put socks on. So we were doing that. And I remember one was really playing the drums hard and was really getting into the guitar. I was standing. We had like sofas like this, so one facing the TV and one along the wall. I'd stood between the 2 sofas, so like legs akimbo on the sofa, singing my heart out. So he walked in. He basically just walked into my arse crack and was like, "What the fuck are you guys doing here?" And I remember him telling me afterwards, he goes, "You turned around and looked at me dead in my eye and you said, 'Get your fucking clothes off and start singing, or you're gay.'" And he was like, I just walked in on what looks like 3 of my best mates having some sort of fucking rock star orgy, and you're telling me if I threaten me, "Get your clothes off or you're gay." And he was like, "I've never been able to understand anything less in my life than your fucking logic." And then he looked around and he's like, "Right, there's about 6 bottles of Buckfast there," and I sort of knew stuff going on. Well, that's what we're dealing with.
There's definitely something about that vibe of when before you sort of settle down, if you're just living with your mates and on different schedules, there's always going to be that thing of, obviously in your case, your mate had done a day's work wherever he was working. He was productive that day. So there's always that risk of him coming home and finding people that have been the exact opposite. So he's probably smashed it all day, been productive, fucking been on the ball with his emails or blah, 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 comes in, and then there's just 3 naked lads singing fucking Gwen Stefani.
No, spider webs, no doubt. Looking in a spider web.
Singing chord or something.
I know, I'm so blind. He wishes he was blind after seeing into my soul. Like,
I'm so blind.
But I do think he was like, "Well, to be fair, I'll take my top off." And I think he just took his top off and did a wee bit of singing, like, but he didn't go full hog. Like, he didn't get his piece out and join the band. Like, so he's more like a session musician. You know, he came on. He's just with us for the tour, but he's not on it properly. But yeah, they were good times. See, now that you're married and you're settled, and you look back at those, a bit of you does have a sort of nostalgia of, "Fuck, I love those days back again." But then you're like, "Nah, I'm too old for it." You know? Absolutely. And it's sad, but you're happy the way things are now. You know, you're used to it. It's good. Yeah,
I think it's good to have stories. For sure, you know, and I do feel I do have 2 or 3 mates, you won't name, that didn't seem to have that sort of university vibe where they don't have stories like that.
Yeah. Well,
Whereas,
I remember.
like I have loads that I'm like, you know what, it was idiotic, but I'm happy that it was a thing. You know what I mean? Even like living in shitholes, and you know, you could just laugh about it now that they were dumps and all the stuff he did. Like,
yeah, like see now you have like a proper gaff. You look back and go, how did I live like that? Like, I remember like we had a house in Stranmillis. This was before that house, so this was when we were actually in uni. Obviously, final year, I decided let's move into student house because what could go wrong with that? But there was a time it was a Halloween party we had, and we had got I think a liter of Glen's vodka, so the exciting vodka Glen's, and then we didn't have any mixer. We just did that, you know, C&C blackcurrant, which is like stronger than fucking half Thor Bjornsson. So we got that, and I was just pouring pints and put it in, and it was like, can't even taste the vodka. I mean, so I'm drinking pints of vodka and blackcurrant juice. So effectively, what happened was an extreme drinking session of total wipeout blitzness. I remember one of my housemates said they came in and I was naked again, obviously, just with my hands on my desk, just like as if I'm surveying like plans of attack. And then he looked at me and he said, I turned around and looked at him with eyes like as if they were possessed, just red eyes. And then I just turned back to whatever it was I was looking at and just projectile poked all over my desk, like just everything on it, just pens being washed away. And it was just horrific. And we did a thing which we called the celebrity pub lock-in. Now this was like an annual event up until about 10 years ago, and it was. Do you ever remember Johnny Vegas at a TV show, 18 Stone of Idiot?
I remember of it, but I don't think I've seen it. But yeah,
well, it was the worst TV show ever. I hated it, but there was a segment on it that I really enjoyed, where it was like him and say, like 6 other celebrities, and they just did a pub lock-in, and the rules were whoever fell asleep or left the pub lost, and the last man standing wins the celebrity pub lock-in. Right. So we thought, right, let's do our version of the celebrity pub lock-in. And I think this happened for about 5 years in a row. And there's a trophy of it, which is actually, I think I was the last champion. So I have it at my parents' house, and I'll have to get it out for you to show you because it's great. But the rules were you had a set amount of drinks. So you had to drink 6 tins of special brew. That was the initial thing. You had to start with 6 tins of special brew, then you had to drink a half bottle of whatever was your choice, and then you got to finish with 2 big bottles of alcohol. So that was the carry for lock-in. Now, if anyone doesn't know special brews, like magic, you know, there's something that you shouldn't drink special brew, that's it, but let alone more than fucking 2 tins of it. But you're blessed after that. So we all dressed up as a celebrity and turned up, and the rules were just that, last man standing. And it was always horrific. Everyone always poked out everywhere. It was just the worst ever. But that was just so much fun at the time. You know, like when you get to like now the thought of it's just making me feel sick in my stomach. Because like when you get to like 6 a.m. and you're like, are you going to go sleep, mate? And you'd hear the birds and like actual people going to work and all, and you're lying there just with a fucking pair, like a wide open Hawaiian shirt and no bags on. Like it's time to. And it's just where's the heroism in that? Yet if you're the last man standing, you win the lock-in. There was no better feeling. Like I've won it twice in my life, and I've honestly maybe, you know, birth of a child, double pub lock-in champion. It's up there. But see now, I couldn't even have 1 tin of special brew. Just couldn't do it.
Like what celebrities did you all dress up as? That's what piqued my interest.
Yeah, well, I mean, I obviously, you know, I was a big fan of wrestling. Mm-hmm. So I thought, right, I'm going to do. There's a wrestler called Carlito who just did this big Afro wig on. He just wore these like comfy Hawaiian outfits. So I just had this big Hawaiian shirt on and just wore his Afro wig. So that was good fun. Then there was someone was dressed as, I want to say Keith Wood, the Irish rugby player. One of them was as, I think there was somebody from the NWA in there as well. I think Ice Cube was one of the guys, and I'm trying to remember who else was.
Did they do blackface?
No, just the full outfit, I think. So it was probably
a good thing. Isn't Jimmy Fallon's in a wee bit of trouble, isn't he? For an old
but see that's just BS. Like how many years ago was that? You know, it's like get over it, people.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, obviously, racism shouldn't.
Because
if
he's in trouble. Like, what about like Downey Jr. and Tropic Thunder? Like, is he going to be in hot? Like,
well, I mean, that's the thing. It's almost like he's a serious actor that people are revering, and they're like, "Oh, it's fine. It's Downey Jr." Yeah. Whereas because it's Fallon who's a wee bit of a sort of raker. They're like, oh no, you know. But
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta be honest. Like I have done blackface before. You know, I actually, you know, have you ever heard of Lenny Henry?
Yeah.
I actually was him for many years, and
Yeah.
then I realized I can't be playing this character anymore, so I
Yeah.
just had to stop doing it, and that's why you don't see Lenny Henry on TV
Yeah.
anymore. You know,
But
I kind of eased out with the wee gig for Premier Inn, was like the
yeah.
last paid egg off for it, but no, genuinely though, I actually did, and there's a photo out there, and I'm just waiting for it to appear and have me cancelled. But
Yeah.
during the 2000 and whatever World Cup, you know, with the vuvuzelas in South Africa.
Oh yeah.
I dressed up as an African football fan. Yeah. So I mean, it was pretty bad. Like, and I mean, you know, I'm probably quite ashamed of that now. But at the time, again, it just wasn't anyway. Like, it wasn't deemed to be offensive. You know, it wasn't something that I was aware of doing. Like, and now I'd be very aware of it and would never do anything like it. But at the time, you know, whatever, how many years, like early 20s I'd have been, it's just a stupid idiot.
Sure, back in the day, I used to dress up as Sean Wright Phillips. You know what I mean? That's all right.
Yeah, it's grand. Yeah.
I have a Halloween party this year. I'm going to Sadio Mane.
Yeah, but I mean, that's, you know, again, sometimes then you think too, like, obviously, you can't do it basically, but at the same time it's like what is also offensive. Like if you were to do, say, a Dublin accent, should you be doing that? Or like if you were to do, say, a Jamaican accent, like what's the kind of,
where do you draw the line?
Exactly. Like I don't think necessarily it's always wrong, but I think if you're obviously, and again, I think there's like blackface, which is bad, and then you go to things where people are like, I saw this thing about a woman, someone's having to go to for lunch in a fitness range, and it's like she's culturally appropriating because she's got braids in her hair. But you're going, that's what is wrong with that? Do you know what I mean? Like the whole cultural appropriation thing, I think it's such a broad spectrum. Like if you're doing something, and like it's like anything, it's like we all wear clothes now. Do you know what I mean? In the day, people just walked about in the buff with like.
You just don't wear them as frequently as the rest of us, it would seem, based on your stories.
I know. Well, as
your recent
times have gone
posts.
well, hey, listen, I've decided there's more money to be made in me being a sexy guy than there is in comedy, so I'm just going to be posting more nudes and stuff going forward. But like, see things like that. Like you do see things in other cultures that you're like, fuck, they're doing that right. I wouldn't mind doing that myself. You know what I mean? I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But, you know, I suppose it's weird. It's weird, that whole cultural appropriation thing. I think there's definitely a line, and common sense needs to be applied a bit with it. But you know, like who invents certain things? Do you know what I mean? Like if say for example, a white person invented an apple peeler, does that mean that, like, say, people in China shouldn't use it? You know what I mean? It's like that's a good tool that people have made. The same way as like braids. You know, if your hair can be tied that way, surely it's not offensive. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I just thought that was a bit weird, but I mean, I think like racism generally at the minute, it's sort of it's gross, like, you know, that it's still such a big thing and not being dealt with. Like, as much as like for banter and as we're comedians, we would like laugh about Trump. Yeah, the guy's a mental racist bastard. Like, you know, he's just, and you got to stop. Like that's the thing. I remember, I guess I was a bit ignorant to some of the issues that there are in the world until my dissertation was about the disproportionate number of black inmates in prison, and from doing that made me go, oh fuck, there is a serious issue here, and it's down to probably rather just race as well. It's like social standings, and like a lot of that's to do with like races were almost just fucking forced into ghettos, and then even now it's hard to get out of that, you know. And it's just, the problem is going to go on until someone just goes, yeah, this is a serious problem, we need to deal with it, but they don't. So, you know, it's kind of shite. And it's lucky for us that we are in such a good part of the world, and we are sort of okay over here. But, you know, that privilege you probably don't think about, you take it for granted, and sometimes you go, oh, fuck. Like seeing your man getting choked to death was one of the most horrific things I've ever seen. And you're going, why is somebody not just jumping and that, like smacking that policeman or something and get the fuck off him? You know,
it's so blatantly mental that like it's like that's went viral and rightly so in a weird way. Like it's weird to be able to say about a video that more
Yeah,
people you watch it and go, that's horrific. More people should see it.
yeah,
That's a weird vibe.
yeah. But I mean, it seems to me that it's just such a common thing almost now. Like, and again, to some extent, you maybe think social media is a bit like it highlights things. You know, it's like the old thing about getting bitten by a dog. You know, if someone gets bitten by a dog and then someone else gets bitten by a dog, they go, "For fuck, I saw that about your man," and then report it more, and it becomes covered more. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's that like maybe it's not happening anymore, but we're only just seeing it. And I think the same. That's maybe what's happening with like these kind of incidences, whereby it is happening, but nowadays it's just being shown more, and we're able to see it more. And surely, hopefully, now that it's being seen more, we can do something about it. But in terms of Trump, like he just seems to, I don't know. It's like mental to see some of the stuff he's saying. You're going,
yeah,
how can you be leading? Obviously, if you're the likes of like a conspiracy theorist, you're like, Trump is the man put in here to bring down the elite. You're also going, yes, that may be so, but at the same time, he's trying to run a country here, and he's a fucking insane man saying some of the worst divisive things that I've ever heard in my life.
yeah. It's like
You know,
some of the stuff he's tweeted would torpedo anybody else's livelihood. You know, you look at someone like Kevin Hart lost out on hosting the Oscars because of
yeah,
previous tweets that he'd already semi-apologized for, even though he
yeah.
didn't really need to. But Trump says stuff 3 times a day that would ruin
Mm-hmm.
anybody else's life. But he's somewhat untouchable. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe he's
and
playing the stupid card because people go, "Oh, he's just that much of an idiot. He doesn't realize they don't feel there's any malice in his tweets." But really, I think he's playing the stupid card and he's doing it well.
but the scary thing is I honestly think he's going to get a second term. I really do. I think it's an absolute shame. From
Yeah,
what you're saying, like in opinion polls, he's doing great. You
yeah,
know, and it's like it's weird because I guess it's who you suppose you follow and algorithms and stuff on social media,
hmm
what you see. But like you would have thought like the Labour Party would have absolutely walked that last election from what you're seeing on social media, but then they were absolutely trounced. You know, Jeremy Corbyn's the worst leader in the history of the Labour Party, and yet still now it's like it looks like the Tories are fucking this coronavirus up as well. It's like it's
yeah,
mental. I just think politics generally it's an insane thing, and I used to be much more into it when I was younger, but now I'm just like, you know, there's literally nothing you can really do to change what's going to happen, and you just have to kind of try and ride it out as best you can. Same as coronavirus. And like the only good thing about the coronavirus over here is that it takes away from some of the ridiculous uh, orange and green shit that's going on, especially around like Brexit and things like that. It's just never going to move forward. I don't think, and it's terrifying.
yeah,
Like I'm for the first time, like pandemic wise, I was terrified of that, and I'm terrified generally.
yeah,
Especially now I've got kids. I'm like, well, what's it going to be like by the time
yeah.
they're
Well,
my age? It gives me the willies. Like,
I have 2 things about that actually, and one ties into what you said there. The first thing is I agree with what you're saying in terms of it's taking the focus away from news stories that are always associated with Northern Ireland. There's obviously the
yeah,
sectarian stuff, but you know, we live somewhere where a gay couple couldn't have a cake made. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
people will never forget that. That will always be
yeah,
something they go, remember about that fucking cake? And do you remember people losing the bat because like
yeah,
during Pride and remember there was something about Primark had like a Pride poster and someone lost the bat. So I'm
yeah,
glad that in a weird way coronavirus is taken away from all that
yeah,
fucking bullshit. But I was
yeah.
going to ask you at the start of this actually, but you've touched on it there. Do you feel is your perspective now because you're a dad? Has that changed? Are you more aware of the climate that you're bringing kids into now, or have you always been
Um,
aware and you've just kind of fine tuned it because of being a parent? Has that changed you? Do you
but
think?
that's a tough question. I do think it makes you more. I think when you're just yourself, you're more selfish about stuff. You know, it's like the whole, oh, it doesn't affect me. You know,
Yeah,
like around the world, there's like, oh, like say for example, the war in Iraq. You
yeah,
know, there's the whole ignorance of, oh, that's not my problem. You know, it's over there. It doesn't affect my life at all. You don't
yeah,
really think too much about it. Whereas now you sort of think about your actions. You do want, like, you don't care about how the world is for yourself. You just want to make sure that, you know, whatever happens going forward will be as good as it can possibly be for your children. And I do sort of feel more concerned now than maybe when I was younger. Like obviously we've lived in the majority of our lives in the sort of post-Troubles era, the sort of Good Friday Agreement era, and we've kind of known a degree of peace here that's never really, it's the best it's been since before the Troubles, basically. Whereas I worry now that certain issues and divides that are being probably brought to the fore again from Brexit per se are going to drive us back to the Troubles again. Like, and to me, I think it's baffling, probably, to me as somebody who's from a mixed marriage. So that's kind of, I've always been brought up to just judge people on whether or not they're a dickhead. You know, if they're sound, it doesn't matter what their religion is, who cares, as long as they're
dead on. Dead on is dead
people,
on.
you know, exactly. And I think that's what worries me. Like, you listen to some of the things, like some of the arguments about like Brexit, obviously they're like, oh well, if Northern Ireland's part of the United Kingdom, we have to be exactly like that. The border should be on the, and I'm going, but there are so many things going on an all Ireland level too. Northern Ireland is to me almost in a great position now, where we're getting the best of both sort of worlds. You know, we can have like the Good Friday agreements allowed you the right to identify yourself if you wish as Irish or if you wish as British. Now, again, as a fan of the Northern Ireland football team, it's not always ideal because players are like, fucking, I'm way down to play Republic, get more to there. But it's like, you know, you do have that freedom, and I just think that, like, to militarise like the border again would be a big step back, and it would add, again, this is what I'm thinking about the coronavirus, is the societal fear that you have over this virus, like the anxiety it's causing. Like, there's going to be fights. See, when this all softens and people are like, if people are close to you in a shop, like, there'll be more people panicking about that. You know what I mean? Get away from me. People have their backs up. There'll be, and I think the same if you start putting like posts and stops on the border and you don't have free travel there. There's going to be, you know, you're dividing it again to be like a them and us kind of thing. And I just think it's a scary thought. That's going to go back to being again. And see, to be fair, like I think that, you know, I'm certainly going to be, I'm not bringing my children up as any religion. I'm just going to try and bring them up as good people. You know what I mean? And if they want to find religion or have a faith themselves, you know, work away. I'm not going to stop that. But it's just like to think, to put like almost a loyalty to we're British or we're Irish above like putting food on the table or earning, you know, stuff like that. It's like it's mad to me that people would rather be seen as, why I'm British, than they would be able to, you know, afford nice clothes, put meals on the table, go on a holiday. You know, to me the priorities are totally wrong. Like, people would rather, you know, we get our flag up and it's staying, we get to march down this road, or, you know, we get to honour these IRA soldiers. And you're going, you know, but that should be like way down the line. Like, see, Stormont, like, to me they should deal with the issues of the day first, and then worry about like the legacy issues and flipping marching issues and all this shit way down the line, and then it'll be less of a big deal, you know. And hopefully off the back of this coronavirus, maybe that might happen, but to me it could go either one way or other. Either things will get better, otherwise it'll set us back in about another 20 years. So it's hard to know, and that's what makes it scary for me. And that's probably the most serious thing I've ever spoken about on a podcast. But that's kind of how. That's
just kind of the shite I bring out of people. But anyway, for anybody listening, vote Dave Elliott this year.
Listen, no, here's the thing. I always thought, as a younger man, I was like, I wouldn't mind dipping my wick into politics. But then I thought, as soon as if I were going, I'm going to run for politics, imagine the amount of tweets, sketches, videos, lines out of podcasts that would just appear. You know, I would be the worst man in the world. Like, you know, people who get cancelled are worse almost than actual full murderers and stuff. People, you'd almost think, you know, people like, oh, he said that about her, bastard, misogynistic pig, and then you're like, but he fully murders people. No, you're worse.
Yeah, you're worse,
Mr. Joker. And you go, okay, right.
I suppose, definitely in your case, because something that's always resonated with me, you know, if you did do something like that and people delved into your back catalogue of stand-up and podcasts, I think the first thing that would come to my head of the many things would be the night in Lavery's you told a story about was it Amsterdam or somewhere, and you got rimmed, and then your closing line for that was, if you haven't been rimmed, get rimmed.
that was going to be the mantra that I was going to go for election under. You know, if you haven't been rimmed, get rimmed. But at the same time, I have to take that back a little bit, because obviously when these restrictions lift, you need to slowly get into rimming again. Everyone can't just be going straight out, because
You
it's
can't
like
go
I
straight
said,
for the hole. Yeah.
yeah, E. coli and salmonella will just go through the roof. It'll be another pandemic just of ass eating based illnesses.
Yeah,
So I mean, we need to slow that down.
I always think,
Maybe
like,
just
when you're getting back into, if you get back into rooming, or if you're doing it for the first time, it must be
yeah.
like, the guy who works in Shawshank prison, when he cops on how your man's escaped, and he's just looking
Yeah.
into the hole. Just that's rooming for me. You're just
Oh,
like,
have you ever watched the new show? It's out with Lil Dicky, Dave.
no, but what's it called?
No, it's called Dave, which is just my name, but it's a thing. It's on BBC. You get it on iPlayer. It's the rapper Lil Dicky.
No, but
Well,
go on.
he's got this comedy, and like Andrew Santino's in it and stuff. It's very funny. It's about Lil Dicky, who's a rapper, but it's just kind of like a wee bit of a sensationalized version of his life. But there's a bit in it where, I mean, if anyone's haven't watched it, I'll tell you the bit. It's a spoiler, but it's fucking so funny. Sometimes as a comedian, you probably find you're desensitized to funny a bit, and you don't really necessarily laugh at stuff, and that, like, tears are running down my face. So basically, the gist of it was he had this sex toy thing, which was basically just like legs and a pubic area, and he would just like, and it's a big, like a Stretch Armstrong type thing, and he basically would, it's all he could use to get off was fucking this. So he put it in his wardrobe when he's a girlfriend. So his girlfriend was around, and he just wasn't able to finish, but he was like, right, and she was asleep, and he brought this big thing into the bathroom to just kind of go at it. And then she was like, oh, I need in for a pee, and he was like, oh bollocks, what do I do this? So he put it in the shower, and she came in for a piss, and it just fell out, this thing, and she was like, what the fuck? And he was like, see, to be honest, you've not seen, like, something happened to his dick, basically, that he was really like paranoid about his penis. So he's like, I have this really weird dick, and it freaks me out when you look at my dick, and I can't finish because I'm just so paranoid about this dick. And then she was like, right, just let me see it. So she looked at it, that's grand. So throughout that, he was like saying that one of his fantasies was like, milking tables and board, where you lie with a hole in the table. So he was like, and she was like, that's maybe what it is, because your biggest fear is just your dick and like somebody making it come. So, for a treat, she set up this milking table in the garage. So he was like, right, okay. And then sorry, again, it's probably way off track, but earlier in it, she come in to him in the studio, and he was rapping, and he's rapping about eating ass, basically. And she was like, oh, you never eat my ass? And he was like, oh, I didn't think that would be something you'd want. She's like, well, I wouldn't mind trying it. So whenever she presented him with this milking table, they just stripped off, and he was like, you know what? You did this for me, but I know you want your ass eaten, so hop on the milking table. So like, she just hopped on, and he's just looking up, and you can see him going up to the ass. At that point, his roommate, Andrew Santino, arrives home from like work in his car, opens the garage, and it's just her like on a milking table.
I think we've just had the best.
Scenario.
We've just had the best segue in the history of any podcast, where you went from a very serious talk about our political climate and raising kids.
Yeah,
I know. She was sitting on the table looking up the hole.
But I mean, I would recommend you watch that, because actually do it today if you can, because it's one of the funniest things I've seen in a long time, and it's a decent enough wee show. But that particular scene was just, I think, just the way Andrew Santino played it wasn't like, like you'd imagine if it was like a sitcom from here, I'd be like, what the fuck's going on here? But he just was like,
fucking hole.
But he was just like, I'll just park in the street here. It's like, what the fuck's going on? And then like the door slowly closing as they're just naked in this milking table. Oh, it's very good. Enjoyed it a lot.
I definitely have to. I know if I ever get you in Secret Santa, I'm getting you a milking table for sure.
I mean, imagine that, like you're a painter and you don't realise you haven't ordered like or not a painter, a wallpaper, a DIY guy, and those wee tables you put the wallpaper up. Imagine you just whipped it up and they hole in it.
I wonder if you could get a milking table that you can get tables that double up as other things. So could you get a milking table that also functions as like a dinner table and a pool table and ping pong and air hockey?
I mean, that'd be a great invention if you could do that. One of those all-in-ones, like like a school sports hall with all the lines on it. And you just that's it. What you do, you've just got the wee center circle. You can lift it out, and it's just or you can stand it up. It could be the glory hole.
Yeah, because the glory hole is probably where you could keep the ping pong balls when you're not playing ping pong.
Oh, there you go. That's a genius. Like Shane and I were talking about it in Boytown there last week. Of course we were. Was like we had an idea for a TV show instead of through the keyhole, through the glory hole. And again, we couldn't get a presenter for it because Neil Winton's dead, sadly. So we were like, who would host through the glory hole and what would it be? And I mean, every time would just be the camera being hit with a dick.
And do you reckon we're going to see Sly Guy merchandise, but Sly Guy milking tables?
I mean, I think that's what people, if that's what the people, if that's what the people want.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be great to see. Like, in sports events, if like the big rubber or like the foam fingers and all.
Yeah.
If they just had like just a wee page like with a glory hole in it, that'd be holding up at my gigs. I just know they're my fans. The glory hole, the glory hole badgers.
Imagine instead of like the big foam finger, it's just a big foam fist.
Yeah, like that's how, if I ever was a politician, how I would rule the masses with a rubber fist. He ruled them with a rubber fist. Yeah,
that's a photo I definitely want to see again. But I think the photo I put on Instagram last night of you and Catherine is my favorite photo of you ever taken, and I've seen a photo of you naked in your garden.
I mean, it is actually, it's so great. And I mean, it's like, what was that? Was it an actual? Oh, well, hold on a second. It looks like I've just ordered
a milking table.
Yeah, I mean, it seems. No, I ordered this like food from like this like pre-packed like diet food because I'm trying to watch myself a bit, and they're just like, oh, by the way, your food's coming next week, and I only thought I ordered it once, but alas, I must just be ordering it every couple of days or every couple of weeks. Just that's handy, saves me doing another order. But yeah, it's freaking when you get a message being like, see, you're going to be paying some more money for us. All right, you go,
it's all right, mate. I have I have a roast dinner ordered for 3 o'clock from Made in Belfast.
A spit roast dinner? Where's it? Made in Belfast?
Collection of 3 o'clock.
We're supposed to be having a holiday day today, so that means just going into the garden and just pretending we're on holiday. So just spending the full day in the garden, basically lazing about. So when I finish this, I'm going to go out, get the grass cut, get Holly's wee swimming pool blown up, and get her wee tent up, and then just go and have a great time in the garden.
Sweet.
It's going to be a nice day.
That's an actual holiday, if you could call it.
Correct. And yesterday we actually had a really nice day yesterday, except Catherine mugged me off twice. We went to this place a wee bit down the road, just like an old monastery, and like rather than going to like a National Trust place because we knew it would all be busy or beaches would be busy. So we went to this really quiet place, went for a picnic, and it was lovely. But as per, I just got a wee bit too relaxed and fell asleep, and Catherine just got a video of just me lying on the ground snoring. And then last night that we came home, played in the garden for a bit, and I just on the sofa, as I do, an old dad man, fell asleep again. Another video of that.
Yeah,
it's like this is embarrassing. But the worst time, I don't know if I've told you this, I went to the Open, the golf up in Royal Portrush.
Yeah,
and I was there for a few nights. So obviously you're there with a few mates. You give it welly on the sauce. So the next day I'm at the golf feeling a wee bit hungover, and I just got down on a bit of the grass, just a wee bit warm, feeling nice, feeling pretty relaxed. I fell asleep, started snoring, and to the point where I had to get woken by a steward because there was a guy trying to play a shot, but I was snoring, and everyone's quiet. And like, here's me going, they had to wake me, and that's probably the most embarrassing moment of my life, actually, being woken by a steward at the Open golf because I'm snoring. Was respectful.
So, like, in terms of the Sash Dave, I want you to explain to the WoodsTalk, the Wu-Tang Clan, the origin of Purple Tooth.
Well, Purple Tooth wasn't it? We were doing a charity gig in the Black Box.
Yes, and you decided to have wine. And
I think I was annoyed. Did you drink that night? Were you the only one that did? I'm right in thinking.
I don't think I drank at all that night.
No fucker. Because that's the thing. We had all been talking about having this big session, and I was buzzing about it. I think I was basically the only one drinking, and I brought a bottle of wine and all, and I think I was just sassy that nobody else was drinking. So I basically was sitting in the corner just being really sassy with people and being a real bitch because no one was drinking. And I think because I was drinking the wine by myself, my teeth were sort of turning purple, and I just the more purple my teeth turned, the more bitchy I was being. So it sort of became Purple Tooth, became this kind of like Game of Thrones type character who was just sitting there abusing everybody. So Purple Tooth hasn't been out in a while now because not only are the teeth purple, but they're sharp. They hurt you. So I try to keep Purple Tooth in the back of my mind somewhere.
Will we see Purple Tiff post-lockdown? Because I don't know if you find this way, your Sly Guy listeners or Boytown listeners,
Yeah.
when you ask for questions, are you getting the question, what are you doing first thing when the lockdown's lifted? Or
Yeah.
are you still going to be quite cautious? And because some people
Oh, I'm
like
still going to
they're
be
going
cautious,
straight,
but I tell you,
yeah.
go ahead. Where are people going straight to where?
It's
Let
just
me get my fists up because I get annoyed here.
yeah, but you just get people that are like, I'm going straight to the bar all day and I'm getting boojum, and like it's always like this real sort of plan that they have, or like I'm going to
Yeah.
Maggie
Well,
Mae's for a fry, and then I'm going to Lavery's play blah 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 blah. But what do you reckon
and
is the first thing you're going to do?
do they live in that particular just 1 square mile radius of the Botanic Avenue? Is that just sort of
They're
and
all
they've no legs, they just have to crawl. But I think the first thing I will do 100% is give Holly to my grandparents or my parents. My grandparents are all dead, so that'd be very, very, very dodgy of me to do as a parent. But no, first thing I will do is go straight to my parents to be like, you can have her for the day. And then I'll give my man a hug, and then I'll just go back to the house, because in some ways I think like lockdown's been a very almost bipolar type experience for me. There's been days where I've been super productive, super focused. I've done a lot of stuff around the house. I've got a lot of other work done. I'm chuffed. And then there's other days I just sit in my sweats going, this is the worst day of my life, and it's trying to, I think, have a routine of that. So I'm going to try and keep the routine of like what I'm doing in the house, because I've done a lot of gardening over the lockdown, and my garden's looking very sexy now. And like I've got it, like Amazon, it's been plundered by me. Like that's all I do is just buy stuff on Amazon.
Yeah.
So I've got more into my coffees as well. I've ordered a lot of ground coffees because I'm a cafetiere man. So I've got a lot of those coming from Amazon.
I got one last week, weirdly enough, cafetiere for the first time.
French press. Oh, very nice. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I'm still getting the hang of it. I know it sounds stupid because it's quite a simple process, but there's there's knacks to it. So every time I've made one, I've watched YouTube videos like a sad her.
Yeah.
And I've got a wee bit better at it. But like, have you any tips for using a cafetiere? Because I think the first time I did it, I'd made a bollocks of it. Like I don't know if I'd let it brew long enough, or if I didn't. You're supposed to like not have boiling water in it, but still pretty warm. There's so many fucking variables.
Well, again, I think that a cafetiere is too much volume to be wasted. So what I do now, my routine now is I get up every morning at 6, even if Holly's not awake, because that's just my routine now. I get into it. If I get up at 6, I try and get some writing done before she gets up, is my kind of thing I'm doing at the minute. So I get up there, I get straight into the kitchen, get the cafetiere going. I always leave it out the night before, so I got my cup. This is another thing. There's 2 things I bought way before lockdown started, and Catherine was like, why did you do that? And one was a nice Parker pen. I just bought a nice pen because I always think, if I buy this pen, I will write more or something. It was kind of my thinking.
Right.
And to be fair, it has worked. But the other thing is I bought a very nice Le Creuset black mug. So it's very sexy. And Catherine was like, we have 1,000 mugs. And I was like, yes, but I need a mug to go with my nice coffee, Catherine. You don't get it. And she's like, do you have like a weird bit of OCD or like autism or something? And I think, yes. So they were the 2 things I got. Whereas so now I've got like a matching set to go with this mug. So like I've got a matte finish flask. So now what I do is like, so I go in, I heat up the cafetiere with some warm water, let it sit for a while, then I go and I have a wee think. Like I'm properly, I choose my bag. So I go and look in the cupboard and be like, which do I want to go for today? And what I quite like at the minute, I'm liking Bulletproof coffee. If you haven't tried it, it's nice. It's good gear. So I'm drinking it at the minute because it doesn't give you like jitters or side effects sometimes you get of coffee. It's very clean, very filtered, very sexy. And it's also, if you're a bit of an athlete like myself too, again, you can fire like coconut butter or just butter in it, and it gives you some fucking good fats to start the day. I'm not about that life. I like my coffee like I like my man. Strong black that leaves an aftertaste in the mouth. That's what I like. So I just do that. Get my cup full of my coffee when it's all done, and then I have my flask and I put the remaining of the cafetiere in the flask to keep it warm throughout the day. So, and then I'll go into my living room, and again, like a nerd, I'll watch something easy to watch, like comedians in cars getting coffee. And then again, I know I shouldn't do this, and it's weird that I do, but I never seem to watch that show when I'm not drinking coffee, as if I'm thinking to myself, I'm sharing it to you, Jerry, And then do a wee bit of writing, and hopefully my child will stay asleep for at least an hour and a half, and I can get some done. And then normally she gets up at about 7:30, 8:15, and then that's just me having to make sure she doesn't die all day. That's basically all you do. Just do whatever you want, but don't fall off things. Don't break bones. Don't eat anything you shouldn't eat. Don't eat dishwasher tablets. And that's kind of the day that I live. And then I pray until 1 o'clock until I give her lunch, and she goes for a nap for a couple of hours, and then I can do whatever I want. And then my wife gets home, and then I just have to put Holly to bed, and then by that stage I'm just fucked.
That's you done.
Try to fit in as much as I can in a day is basically what I try to do. And again, there are days where I'll just lie in the living room and watch Peppa Pig and just do nothing, and then I hate myself. But there are days where I get up and I get loads done and I feel great. So I think it's about having a routine, and I think that's what's helping me is sticking to it. Whereas I don't think I got up in bed last week at 7:30 and felt like I'd just been left in a 5-star hotel for 7 nights of just sleeping by myself. It was great, but so I just need to stick to that more, I think. Yeah,
the routine's a massive thing. I think doing the Couch to 5K has sort of helped me quite a bit, obviously, in terms of just getting out of the flat and actually being active. Like, it's not, I'm only 5 weeks in of 9, but it's Monday, Wednesday and Friday. So like, even with the weather being so good, even just having that. But the thing that sort of concerns me at the minute is, like, obviously I go for a run on my lunch break and get it all done, a shower and nice food and stuff. But I find obviously my mood is a lot better when I go for a run. But then I almost feel like the days I'm not going for a run or anything, I feel like a wee bit more grumpy. But obviously I'm not supposed to go for a run every day because you just knacker yourself. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure that out at the minute. Maybe do something the days I'm not running, like some weight stuff or resistance or something.
Because I sort of at the start of this was like, right, I'm going to use this lockdown as a time to improve myself in some way. That lasted about a day. And then I was just like, it's hard to get time to exercise when you have Holly and you're looking after her and you're doing the day job at home and you're trying to do other stuff as well. It's hard to do all that. So again, I was trying to do the odd circuits. And then at the start of this, I don't know what was wrong with me, but I just felt a wee bit kind of like I was lightheaded or had vertigo or something. So it was making me, like, anytime I was training, I'm like, fuck, this is great. And then I got my blood all tested and stuff, and like went to the asthma clinic at the start of all this, and my blood pressure was a bit high. So I thought, fuck, this is my blood pressure. The only thing you can do about that is try and lose a bit of weight and be a bit healthier. So I was trying to fit it in, and it was just not working. Trying to get out walking every day and stuff, just wasn't able to find the time to do it. So I just bought an exercise bike, and that's been the best thing I've ever done in my life. I bought an exercise bike, and I can just literally, there's no like prep for it. You just hop on it, do what you can do. So if I'm struggling, sometimes I'll do 15 minutes when I get free, 15 minutes here and there, and then hop on again later in the day, do another 15, just get a wee sweat on, and it's helping the weight come off, and I'm feeling way better for it. So it was a wee bit dear, but it's an investment to try not to die, basically.
Yeah. How do you feel about
eating grapes?
Love it. Love the grapes are RAF. Happy days. How do you feel in terms of being in this lockdown, in terms of stand-up? Like, do you miss it more than you thought, or what's the crack there?
You know what? I want to be totally honest, because I think as a comedian and a stand-up, people feel like they have to say, "Oh, I love it, I miss it." I don't really miss it too much, to be honest.
I'm the same.
Again, I feel like I'll come out of this with a new hour. I've been writing bits before lockdown started, and to be fair, stand-up's kind of gone to the back burner. Like, I've had a few other wee things that I'm working on and writing on at the minute, that I've got some stuff. Good news happening, basically. So I've been writing more than that. That's why I'm getting up at 6, because I have deadlines and stuff to do. So I'm focusing more on that. But like comedy and I feel like, because I'm doing a Patreon podcast every week, I'm doing a Sly Guy podcast every week, I'm doing Boytown every week. There's 3 podcasts every week I'm doing. Plus I'll do the odd podcast like this one where I'll come on, have a bit of crack yourself. It's great fun to do. I feel like that's kind of itching my comedy bone, per se, so I feel like I'm still getting out there. I'm still able to do a version of comedy. It's just not stand-up, and I do miss stand-up, but at the end of the day, it is just another medium of comedy that I love. Like, I love stand-up. It's what I want to be doing, but at the end of the day, I think when you accept in your mind that you're not going to be able to do it, you have to go, can't get annoyed about it. So I know I can't do stand-up for a while. Even when it comes back, I don't know if I'll want to do it to like sparse, spread out people. I want it to be like when Pugs it's packed is when I love it the most. You know, when it's a packed room, it's just that intimacy. It's just fucking everyone laughing, having a good time. I
Yeah.
love that. So it's kind of like pints. You know, people are going, "Oh, I got pints," and you're going, "But it's in a fucking plastic cup." Fuck that. You know, I want to be, rather than drinking outside a pub like you're 16 out of a plastic cup. Fuck, you want to wait
Yeah.
until you're in a bar, able to do it like you can do again, and feel a bit like that about stand up.
Yeah.
Like I want it to be back as it is, but when I do, I'll be ready to try new bits, and I think that'll be exciting. But I know it's going to be a while, like so.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like doing stand up and how long we've known each other, dare I say it, I was at your first ever stand up gig, because I want to say
Yeah,
Molly's Parlour in Lisburn was your
yeah, it was.
first stand up gig. I was at that.
Yeah,
I was on the bill as well.
yeah,
Not mad.
it is. And also at that stage, I shouldn't have been. You know, I don't know. I don't. That's one of the things people are always like, "Oh, do you know?" I don't know when I realized that I could do stand up. You know, it's a weird thing because I remember in the very beginning, I didn't like you because I felt that you were a bad omen for me because any gig you were at that I was on,
That
I had shit.
that's
You know,
right. I forgot
and
about.
I just
I was
remember
like
going,
Gareth Bale, the early days of
yeah.
Spurs. You know what I mean?
And it was like anytime you were in a bill, I was almost before going, oh fuck. And then I think I wrote the bit, you know, about the doctor. That was my first bit that I wrote and went, that's decent, you know,
Yeah,
about me having a lump on my ball. And then after that, because again, I think in stand up, it's until you realize the material you want to do makes you laugh and you enjoy doing it. Once you get that, that's when you go. And if other people like what you're doing,
yeah,
that's a winner. Whereas to me, I was at the beginning, I was probably more sweary, more fucking fuck this, fuck that, and it's like that's not who I am, you know. So I thought I'm just kind of weird, pervy guy. So you know, if I can feed
yeah,
into that,
yeah,
it works. And I think that it's like anything. Once you find a formula that works for you, it's
yeah,
great. So I mean, I think we're lucky in that we have plenty of ways to put out content now, podcasts or video sketches, you know, things like that. So I'm keeping busy, but
yeah.
I'm just trying to be in a position whereby when stand up comes back, you know, I'll be excited to try new bits and I'll be hopefully able to do another hour at the end of it. And I mean, I think I'll maybe do a wee tour, but it'll be next year. I mean, I'm not putting any pressure on worrying about it or anything. I'm just trying to do what I can do in this lockdown environment to make
Yeah.
me in a better position when it comes out, you know.
Yeah, I sort of feel the same. I'm not missing stand up overly. I'm not writing a lot,
Mm.
but I have notes in my phone, so I've no bits, but I do have ideas and stuff. But I kind of
Yeah, like
use this as a time to get perspective about what I want to do with myself, if
yeah.
you know what I mean. Like it's sort of
Because
I do
let
miss it,
me
and I do like the idea of being a comedian, but I know that there's a lot of stuff I need to work on in terms of like social media presence and
yeah.
online content is a serious weakness of mine. And even like the podcast is good for developing bits and I'm enjoying
Mhm.
that, but like even that I have to do more stuff podcast related, hence why all these video podcasts are
Yeah.
going to be for the WoodsTalk Patreon when I get
Yeah.
that launched, hopefully
No, but it'll be
this time next week, I think.
yeah, but I think that'll be a good thing to do, and I think that like it's just strange. I think it's being happy with what you're doing. I think it's the main thing, you know, and at least knowing in yourself. Like at the minute, I know right, this is what I want to be doing,
Yeah,
and work towards it. And like there are obviously some times where you'll see people who you're going, how the fuck are people listening to that podcast? Like it's fucking, you know what I mean? Or how the fuck has he sold out this venue? How the fuck have they so many fucking likes on videos and stuff? And you just go, that's irrelevant. You know, that as much as like there are people we all banter about and be bitchy about for the crack mostly.
yeah,
As long as you know yourself, you're taking a step forward each time, you know, and things are like your numbers, your podcast. Again, during the pandemic, I find have been more stuttered because people
yeah,
aren't like going in their routines to works and listening and stuff like they would. So you are still getting to the listens, but it's taking a bit longer. But it's just trying to work out what you're going to do. And for me, it's been like, right, I want to write more for like TV and for radio and things. So I'm trying
yeah,
to figure out like what can I do like to try and develop like treatments or like pilot scripts and stuff. So that's what I'm kind of focusing on at the moment. And because I know this time like you can't be doing stand up, so it'd be kind of a waste of time to be really focusing on writing stand up when there's nowhere to do it. So
yeah, true.
where can you it's like the old saying, plenty of ways to skin a cat, you know.
Yeah, because even
So
if
it's
you
like
had like 2 hours of material during the lockdown accumulated, how long would it take you to get all that stuff out and tested
yeah,
appropriately? It would still take you about 6 months to get all that material out and actually get it crafted and formed into bits and stuff.
And like one thing that I'm not going to do is talk a lot about the lockdown when it's over. You know, I think
I'm saying
that you'll come to comedy and everyone's going to be talking about it. If you're an audience member, you're going to be going, "Oh fuck, here we go again. Oh, and pandemic, I did this." Shut up. You know, just so like I actually woke up the other night at the moment, and when Catherine's working, she starts work very early, so I sort of sleep in the spare room because she's a big pregnant woman at the minute, needing to get up for work, and I'm a Snorlax, so I sleep in the spare room when she's working early, just to make sure she gets a good night's sleep. And I woke up in the middle of the night and just had an idea for a bit about the bed that I was sleeping in, because I've this whole bit about how like our first Holly was basically a surprise. We weren't planning her, you know, she just kind of happened. Whereas this one, we kind of have actively tried and like fucking followed. Like Catherine's got apps and all on her phone, and you should be eating this, you should be doing it at a certain time when the moon's out and the stars are and all this shit.
Is this for the conception, sorry? Or?
Yeah, for the conception. So it was just so fucking, like, it was so much more pressure. And I'm going to be doing a lot about that. And this particular bit about this bed she bought. She saw a bed that was like, had no springs in it. She's like, "Oh, it's bed. It's memory foam, but there's no springs in it." And I was like, the thing about a mattress is it's supposed to have fucking springs in it. So whenever I'm in this memory foam mattress, I'm too big a guy for a minute. Like my as soon as it goes from being a memory foam mattress to being a mattress with dementia when I'm on it, just can't remember. It's just, so when I sleep in it, I'm just basically buried in this hole that doesn't move, you know. So I'm a bit about that, and I just thought, you know what, this is quite a funny bit, because whenever she bought it, she came home and it looked like a pillowcase. This whole fucking mattress about this size, all compressed, and then And then the other bit I'm going to do is about how when you open it, it springs out. Like, you know, when you watch porn and a guy just pulls out another guy's dick. So I'm obviously going to be going down the route that I'm talking, like, hinting that I watch gay porn. Shocker, right? I'm going to be like, you know, when they pull that out, and a semi just flops out of the tracksuit bottom. That's kind of so I have a whole bit about that now. And again, it wasn't something I was thinking about writing. I just thought that might be quite funny stand-up, me in a spare bed with a bed with no springs in it. So that kind of just was like, it wouldn't fit into anything else, but it'll work in stand-up. So I mean, it's there, and like I've got a list of bits that I just was already kind of working on before this happened, and let me see how many bits I've got. That I'm going to again, these are all bits that you'll try. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 bits. So that's like, normally my shows are about 25 bits in it. So I've the guts of an hour there. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But again, let's be honest, we're not going to be doing an hour probably until after this time next year. So I mean, what's the rush? Get what you can do done in lockdown, and then just get ready to go.
Yeah, I enjoy when you were chatting about when the dick gets out in porn, because it seems to be either if it's soft, it kind of it's like a flump.
Yeah.
Then if the guy's already got a chub on, it's like a fucking like a diving board or a doorstop, or it's like boing.
But you know what the other thing about porn is too, like whenever they pull it out, they're always surprised it's there. Like it's like, whoa, and it's like, what do they expect? Like, I'd be more shocked if they pulled down the brakes and it was like a candle. You'd be like, then you go, what the fuck?
Where's the dick?
Comes out, you're like, whoa.
It's like if you open a pack of Jaffa cakes and seen Jaffa cakes, you'd be like, holy fuck!
Yeah.
You'd be like, well, yeah, that's the way it is.
You know, you're in a film to get fucked by a cock, and I mean, lo and behold, there it is, the king's scepter. But
I can't help but laugh at all the porn videos that are just like fake things. Just like fake taxi, fake modeling agency, fake fucking ventriloquist or some shit like that. It's just like, oh, well, to get out of this situation, you're going to have to fuck me.
I know. I mean, and imagine if that actually existed in the real world. If you listen, mate, I don't actually have enough. Like, because what happened? We had a guy around our drains. Well, our house is kind of a bit old, and our drains, my house and the next door neighbour, it's an old woman's drain, come together. So basically, long story short, she's been putting fucking makeup wipes down the bog and blocking the pipes. So I had this guy come around and like, you get his rod out and try to fucking clear the drains. So he did that. It was grand. Last time he was around, it was 60 quid. This time he changed the price to 80. So, I mean, fair enough, you understand that. But I had the 60 quid laid out, and I had to go through the flipping change box. and I think I got to like 79.50 and was like, I only have 79.50. And a bit of me was thinking, like, from watching porn, he's going to go, well, you know, you could just fuck me. And I'd be like, oh, well, you know, I guess. I think, imagine that was the currency. You'd be down, say in St. George's Market, could I just get a pound of cinnamon, please? You're like, well,
you'll get a pound, all right.
It's just it's a strange concept. Like, at the end of the day, that fella, right, who drives a fake taxi, how does he pay his taxi rates? Because, I mean, he has to keep that car on the road, and you can't, like, I mean, the only thing he could fill that car with jizz, and that's not going to let it run. You know, he's going back to the depot, and the man's being like, right, where's my cut? And he's like, oh, well, the thing about it is, it's up her ass.
It's in her ass, how?
Yeah.
He's always like, it's like Jason Statham in the fucking car.
Yeah.
Suck my
nut.
nut.
You know what? But what's the weirdest thing about him is the same fella always gets rimmed. You know, he's like, ignore the cock, go for the ass. And you're like, all right, mate, you know, each to their own. But and then after that, does he legit go and take a few fares? Like, would he bring a wee old man down to the bookies or something after that?
Takes me around to the bingo.
Yeah, it's like, it's just strange.
He's always like, yeah, he's so rim orientated, and you're just going, you've been sitting in that taxi on a leather seat for the last couple of hours, you know, work, and then you're sitting there going, Jesus Christ, it's just like fucking the inside of a Kia.
You know what he should have if he actually cares about fucking the people in his taxi? He should get, you know, those wee wooden beads to cover the seat, because that's what keeps your arse off the leather seat.
Yeah, anal beads.
Yeah. I mean, there you go. You're talking about having an air hockey table that converts into a milking table. There you go. You've got those beads for the seat that convert into anal beads. That's exactly what else do you want for a fake taxi?
They've been in my arse.
I know the old man's just looking to go down for a flutter on the horses. He's like, keep that to yourself, mate. And he's like,
they're in my hole. It must be annoying for, like, you know, people who like direct porn like properly, where they have like lights and proper cameras, and he just has a GoPro inside of a black cab and just gets his hole licked, and he's fucking
raking it in. Yeah.
It blows my mind that, like, even like stuff like there is a crew, so something like a Bukkake, which sounds like a fucking Toyota car.
Yeah,
like obviously 19 lads just busting a nut on this bird's beak, and then some guys are cut, and then she's just do you know what I mean? Like the start of
someone will come in like a fucking corner man at a boxing match with a fucking spit bucket in the towel, wiping down her face, put the jizz in the bucket, you know.
Continuity, we need it for another shot.
And then, like, so you're there, you're doing the porn, right? And then you look away from the person you're doing the porn with, and like just behind the camera, and you basically see a face like this. Well done, you know.
Good job, bro.
A wee bit I was actually working on before this was tied into the trying for the baby thing, and it was about how, you know, when you're a teenager, you try to be all bravado and be like, what do you want to be when you're older? I want to be a porn star. Like, that is the hardest job. Like, again, when you're trying for a baby, you're like, right, you need to get the goods, you need to produce the seed, you know what I mean? You're the farmer, you need to go into the field and sow the seed in order to reap the harvest 9 months later, right? So I said, like porn stars can come with a dude on the other side of the camera going, do it now, and I just go, you know, where it's like I'm doing it with somebody who I love very much, and she's be like, would you just hurry up? And I'm like, I'm fucking trying to. It's a nightmare. It's stressful. Whereas these porn stars are just fucking shooting it away, no problem.
It's come now, no worries. Cool.
Yeah, I know. Like that. I mean, that's the talent that I want to see on Britain's Got Talent. Just the guy comes on and he just goes, right, David, say when. Amanda, say when. Simon, say when. Alicia, say when. And then they just wait. And he just goes, now. Like, all right. A minute later. Just come. That's the X-Man that we need.
Yeah. Nothing worse when you see like the guy's about to bust a nut, and it's like the most like minuscule wee thing where you're just like, it's just like a.
Hold on 1 wee second. Her indoors is ringing me. Let's see what she wants. Hello. Hello. Hi. We're just finishing this podcast. On your way home? No, it's okay. To put what on? Oh, right. Okay. What's she having? Right. Okay. I'll go and do that now. See you later. Bye. Oh no. That's me being told that the family are coming back. So that's me.
No worries.
Can you go and put her lunch on? So there you go. There's the joy of having kids. I have to go and make scrambled eggs on toast for my 2-year-old daughter, and then she's going to go for a nap, and the big man's going to get the stringer on and the short shorts and get in that garden and get the fucking grass cut.
Yeah, well, that sounds like a good plan. Enjoy.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Yes.
To WoodsTalk.
No, it's been a pleasure. I mean, I think we covered all the topics from serious to the not so serious. Obviously, the most serious topic we covered today was milking tables. So, yes. I mean, what else do you want?
I think that's the name of this episode, is absolutely milking tables, for sure. Well, I will let you get on. Thank you very much. I know we've talked for an hour and a half there. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay safe and all that jazz. And I'll see you very soon.
Absolutely. Take care of it.
Take it easy, man. All the best. See you soon. Bye-bye.